Hey, it's Pat Flynn here, and I want to tell you a story. A story about the time I chickened out, and I absolutely regret it. This is the story of what it's like to be an introverted entrepreneur. You know, it's neither a good thing or a bad thing to be either introverted or extroverted. Each has their own superpowers, and each has their own challenges. But I always thought that being an introverted entrepreneur put me at a disadvantage because part of entrepreneurship is building a network, building relationships, going out there and meeting people, and that was something that was very difficult for me to do. This is in fact why I got online, because I could hide behind my keyboard for a while. But over time, I started to realize that actually showing up and putting myself not just on camera, but in conferences where people were was massively beneficial. And although it was hard, it was something that was worthwhile. But this is a time when my introverted self got in my own way. So it was 2018. I was invited to speak at an amazing conference put on by Dave Ramsey, the Entre Leadership Conference, which was actually happening in my backyard here in San Diego, California. There were some amazing speakers in this lineup, including the likes of people like Peyton Manning, which was just unreal. He wasn't there the day that I was speaking, so I didn't get a chance to potentially meet him, but there was somebody who I did have the chance to potentially meet. I was in the green room. The green room is a section of a conference that will usually be set up for the speakers and other VIPs, if you will, to go to just kind of remove themselves from the crowd or, get away for a little bit. And I was there getting some drinks, getting some snacks before my talk, and kind of just trying to psych myself up about what I was about to do to perform in front of this crowd. Then all of a sudden, through the double doors walks Simon Sinek. Massively game-changing for millions of people, myself included, because of his TED Talk, his book, Start With Why. It helped me realize that it's not about the what or the how of what you do and what you serve your audience with, but it's about the why behind what you do. Which is why when I think about this story, I always ask myself, why, Pat? Why did you do this? So Simon walks in, I glance at him in the corner of my eye, and I go, oh my gosh, that's Simon Sinek. Part of me was like, how funny would it be if I went up to him and I was just like, Simon, why? And then I was like, why would I ever do that? That would be dumb. And then I started thinking, okay, well, what if I went over and shook his hand and I just introduced myself and I just wanted to thank him for all the great things he's done for me and for others? That was definitely more logical. And then I thought, well, what if I go over there and I introduce myself and he goes, I'm sorry, I'm here to be by myself. This is why, I don't want to talk to you right now. Could he really be that mean? Then I started thinking about some of the actual people in my life who have done that, who have been mean to me, and thinking that, well, maybe Simon is like one of those guys who's always pretending to be great, but then maybe he's not, even though I've seen him interact with others before and he's always very gracious. Then I started thinking about the fact that if he were to say something maybe mean, or maybe just I made him feel bad or something, it would get in my head and then I'd be on stage and that's all I could think about during my talk, and I wouldn't perform in front of this audience, and then this audience who was there watching me talk was going to ask for a refund, and then I'd get in trouble by Dave Ramsey, and then I wouldn't be able to pay that off because, no credit cards, and then all this stuff is crazy happening, and then I go and I end up naked in a ditch somewhere. That is literally what I was thinking. Now you might be like, Pat, that's dumb. Why would you think that way? Number one, I just think that way sometimes. But number two, when you're in the moment, sometimes it's hard to step back and go, okay, what is really going to happen here? And also, what's the worst that can happen? I ended up just sitting on the opposite side of the room, because again, I didn't want to bother him. And 15 minutes went by, a person came to get me to bring me on stage, and I did my thing on stage. And I remember going home that night and feeling truly bad about having lost the opportunity to get to say thank you to somebody who I admire and to potentially build a relationship that could have turned into who knows what. So I chickened out. What makes this even worse is that I've had other people, students and people in the audience here, ask me, how do you best utilize your time when you are at a conference? Whether you're a speaker or attendee, I always say the best thing to do is build as many relationships as you can, and don't be afraid to go up to people and say hi. I wasn't even following my own advice. So this is advice to you. Number one, to hopefully make you feel not alone in the fact that maybe you're also scared as an introverted entrepreneur to build these relationships and to make things happen in this way. But also to hopefully tell you about what can happen if you don't do this, because the pros far outweigh the cons of initiating a conversation and saying hello. Now, obviously there's a line. If Simon was in the middle of a conversation, I didn't want to just go, hey, Simon, hey, can you talk to me real quick? I know you're busy, but plus that made it look like I'm touching his face. That's kind of, you don't want to just randomly touch people. So be respectful and, wait your turn. But at the same time, there's something to be said for taking initiative. And having initiative to speak to people is something that's very difficult for us introverted entrepreneurs. But when you remember the why and the what could come out of that, you can potentially muster up the courage. And the one thing that I did, that I shared with you already, is I psyched myself out of it. I gave myself enough time to psych myself out of that. So here's the rule that I want to give you, a rule that I often offer to others that I know I need to follow as well. And that is the 5-second rule. No, not eating food within 5 seconds after you drop it, because that's already been busted. Bacteria doesn't want to wait 5 seconds. Here's the 5-second rule. Don't give yourself 5 seconds to psych yourself out of just going up to somebody and saying hello. What am I gonna say? What are we gonna do? How am I gonna answer certain questions they might have? Who cares? Nothing's gonna happen unless you go up to somebody and say hello. And trust yourself to just have a normal conversation. Because guess what? Everybody who I know who is a celebrity or an authority or a leader or an expert or a guru or whoever who I've ever spoken to, they're also human beings, just like us. And you never know what that next relationship you create can do for you and your future. So I hope that one day when you and I are in the same location, the same event or conference, that both of us are not going to be afraid to say hello, because I'm excited to potentially meet you and see how we might be able to help each other in the future. For right now, we'll just have to do that on YouTube. So make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. 5-second rule, don't chicken out. You never know what that next relationship could get you or what you could do for them. Peace out. Click on the next video when you're ready. That's my story.